Good morning. How are you? Have you done your work? Okay. I received your all answers. Very good. So let's go to the lesson. So what did we stop in the previous class? Where do we stop? Yes. The boy drank the water and it gave him more power. Okay. And now come back to the lesson. Presently, he saw another boy ahead of him driving a few gourds down the path. Then he saw whom a boy was driving gourds. Then, how far is the river? He asked. He has only one question to ask to whoever he meets. That is, how far is the river? Then what was the answer? The village boy smiled in a friendly way and said, "Oh, not far. Just round the next hill and straight down." Then the boy said, it is not far away. It's very near. Just you have to go round the next hill and straight down you can see the river. So it is also same like our woodcutter. It is accurate. Unlike our girl who said the distance from there to that river was 20 miles. This is what accurate. Okay. The boy, feeling hungry, unwrapped his loaf of bread and broke it in halves, two halves, offering one portion to the village boy. Then now he is hungry. Then he wants to have his bread. That loaf of bread is there with him. So now he has a new company. Who is that new company? That village boy. So he invited that boy for having that loaf of bread. Then together they sat down and he cut that bread into two pieces. One half to the boy and the another half to that village boy. They shared that meal, that food. Okay, that food they shared. So it is a good quality of that boy. Okay, why? Because this village boy also may be hungry. So he shared his food with that boy. So from that we can understand that boy is very kind. Then they sat on the hillside and ate in silence. When they had finished, they walked on together and began talking. So both are same aged boys. So they will have many things to talk. So what they on the way they talked about many things. The boy did not notice the smarting of his feet. They were talking about many things. At the same time, while he was walking, there was a pain. Smart means pain of his feet. He did not know. Why? Because he got a good company. When we walk or when we travel with our close friends, we won't bother about the time. Okay. If we go to a long distance with our friends, it won't be long. It won't be a boring one. But at the same time, when we go to a very near place without anyone, it will be boring. You might have experienced it in your life. So here also, same like that. They were very close. So they were talking. So he did not come to know about the pain or that tiredness, anything. And the heat of the sun and the distance he had covered and the distance he had yet to cover. He did not think about all these things. Actually, these were a problem. What were the problem? He must have thought about the smarting or paining of his feet or the heat of the sun. I told you it is what mid-noon. The sun will be very hot. So he did not think about that. The distance he had to cover. He had to cover a long distance again. So he did not think about that. and the distance he had yet to cover. So he did not think about the distance he had to cover. He never thought about anything because he was continuously talking with that boy. But after some time, his companion had to diverge along another path, and the boy was once more on his own. But after walking together for a long distance from one place, that village boy diverged, or he wanted to go to another place, or his house was another way. So they departed from there. Okay, then the boy became very sad because he lost his best company. Now what happened, or what made that disappearance of that boy in that travel? He missed the village boy. He could not be seen. The village boy disappeared. Now he is alone. His own home was also hidden from his view by the side of the mountain. Now he turned back. Then could he see his home? No, the boy also not there. The river was not in sight either. Then he looked to front. Could he see that river? No. So river is far away, home is far away, so he is in the middle. Okay, so the river was not in the sight either. He began to feel discouraged. At that time he felt discouraged. He was having such a interest to see that river, but now that interest disappeared. He was sorry he had finished the bread. He might want it later. He had a loaf of bread. He shared it with that boy. Now nothing is there with him. So now he is thinking about that. But no food and cannot see that river. Then gradually he was feeling tiredness and all. Then he was determined to see the river. But the boy was determined. Determined means took a strong decision. So he walked on, continued walking, resumed walking, we can say, and along the hot, dusty, stony path, past mud huts and terraced fields, until there were no more fields or huts. Then he walked and walked. Then on the way he saw huts, then fields, all, but only now he can see forest, sun and loneliness. Now there was no man or any sign of man's influence. Now there is no man, there is no man's influence, means house, field, nothing is there. Only trees and rocks and bramble and flowers. Only silence. Plants are there, rocks are there, flowers are there, nothing else. The silence was impressive and a little frightening. That silence, at the time he was alone, there was a silence. But the silence was impressive, making interest, but at the same time frightening. It was different from the silence of a room or a street. When we are alone at home, there will be a silence. When we are alone at the street, there will be a silence. But this silence is entirely different from that all. Why? Because he is in a forest. It was the silence of space, of the unknown, the silence of God. Then our writer is saying that silence is what? The silence is the silence of God. Then, as the boy rounded a sharp bend, the silence broke into a sound. When he rounded a sharp bend, then when he rounded that sharp bend, then there was a sound. The sound broke the silence. Then what was that sound? A sudden roaring sound. Roaring sound. You may think it may be a lion. No, it's not lion. It was the sound of the river is aim was to see that what that river, no, that sound came from that river. Far down in the valley, the river tumbled over rocks. Far down in the valley, but the river tumbled means fell over the rocks. When the water fell over on the rocks, you know, there will be a sound. That was a sound. The boy gasped and began to run. When he saw that river, was very happy, and even though he was tired, he ran. He slipped. Then what? He slipped. On the way he slipped, but he stumbled. Stumbled means fell down. But he woke up. He stood up, and then still ran. Then he was ankle deep in the painfully cold mountain water. Then he ran, he fell down, again he got up, and again he ran, then again he fell down, but again he stood up and ran, and then he reached the river and he touched that water with his leg. Then he is ankle deep on the water, and the water was blue and white and wonderful. So that water in that river was what it is said as blue, white and wonderful. So the pure water, because man's influence is not there in that water, in that river, so it is very pure. So when he touched that pure water, it was his aim, and he was very happy. So at last, by overcoming all these problems, he reached there and touched the river water in that river. Yeah, he is very happy now. So this is what the boys. How far is the river? Boy's story. Have you got it? So read this lesson very carefully, and you have to find out the side question answers, and you have to send me, and we have to go through that all activities in the textbook. So before that, you can find out the question answers all. Why did the boy feel discouraged? That's a side question. Why did the boy feel discouraged? Because he was alone. He could not see that river or home. That's why he was discouraged. Then what broke the silence of space? What broke the sound of that river? Then the boy slipped and stumbled, but still ran. Why? Because he finally he reached the river. For touching that river, he ran. Okay, so these are the main side question answers. Now I have explained that what answers. So once again, read this lesson very carefully. The whole lesson you have to read very carefully. Then only we can go to the next activities given in the textbook. Okay, so read it very carefully. Okay, then thank you.